Welcome to this lecture on MTD Bridging software. My name's Dean Wootten. So MTD is rapidly approaching, and we should be fairly well down the line now in terms of what software we're going to be suggesting using for our clients. And it's fair to say that MTD for that should be straightforward when the business is using cloud-based software such as Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, for example. It should, however, be noted that even though you're using a MTD compatible software, you still have to sign up for the pilot, and then once you've signed up, you have to grant authority to your software. It's a very simple process. Takes you about, I've signed up my business for it. It took about 7 minutes, and that's with me trying to find various numbers and stuff. So it's not a long process at all. So you go onto the HMRC website, you click the links for signing up, you sign up, you wait about 24 hours, you get a confirmation email, you then go to your software, and then through your software, you then link the software to the HMRC system, and there should be like links within your software to go through to link it to the HMRC system. As I say, it doesn't take very long at all. It's a very, very simple process. The actual software providers, Xero, etc., they should give you these links where you just literally click the link and it takes you through the authority process. It's very, very simple thing to do. Once you've done that, you should see your software start to look a bit different, only on the VAT return tab. But when I open up my VAT return tab now, it's all MTD VAT. So my software is obviously ready for the next VAT return to be submitted under the MTD system. And I'll be doing my March return under MTD, even though I don't have to. I could have waited until the June return, but I thought I'd sign up early and just go through it. All right, so back to where we were. So we're really talking about bridging software. So clients may have older desktop versions of Sage Line 50, for example, or maybe an older version of QuickBooks desktop. They don't want to upgrade. They're quite happy with what they've got. It's embedded in their systems, so they're quite happy to stay as they are. Now, clients, they can absolutely continue with those versions of that software if they so wish. They just need to supplement it with bridging software. The purpose of this lecture. Other lesser-known software packages can work with bridging software. Bridging software allows you to stay pretty much as you are. So I would say whatever accounting software you've got, if you want to carry on using it, you carry on using it. You just get bridging software to make it MTD compatible. The same can be said of Spreadsheets. I get bridging software for Spreadsheets, but I will deal with Spreadsheets through this lecture. Now, bridging software enables clients to continue with older desktop versions of software such as Sage Line 50, QuickBooks 13, say. So rather than upgrading, why don't you just get bridging software? Now, I've come across situations where the upgrade cost has been just way too much money, in my opinion. There's one I came across. It wasn't to one of the mainstream, wasn't the Sages of this world, but it was very bespoke for the business. It was an engineering software, accounting software, and obviously very much for that industry. And the upgrade cost is quoted at £7,000. Now, that included some training in there, but £7,000, that sounds to me to be too much money. Bridging software, 40 quid a year, sorts it. So it's a much simpler option. If you've been quoted by Sage, for example, an upgrade to the latest Sage Cloud 50, for argument's sake, and the upgrade's coming in at a little bit too much for your liking, then just bridge it. Bridging is a simplified, cheap option to upgrading software. Now, do search MTD bridging software on the internet and see what's around. There's lots. HMRC also have a website, a list of approved providers. And on that list, you'll see loads of them. There's Avalara, PTP have got one, there's BTC, there's VT are releasing one, there's loads. The one I particularly like is the one called MTD Express, and that's very good. I've had a play with that one, and that works really well. Now, virtually all are license-based, with fees around £40 per annum. Accountants can get it cheaper if you commit to a number of licenses, and this could be around £2 per VAT return. It can be a little bit lower, but if you want the good bridging software, then you can get it for around about £2 per VAT return. But individual licenses, if a client wants to do it off their own back, £40 per annum. A much better option than, say, your £7,000 upgrade. Let's have a look at an example of how this bridging software works. Now, I'm going to go through some examples on bridging software, and the examples I'm using are using the MTD Express bridging software. Now, all the bridging software will work in a very similar manner, but my examples are looking at one particular piece of bridging software, just so that we understand how the bridging software works, and specifically in respect of a particular bridging software supplier. So this has all been tried and tested. Now, ABC Limited, with turnover in excess of £1 million, taxable turnover, is using an older version of Sage, let's say Sage Line 50. They've used it for many years. It's embedded in their system. They don't want to change it, basically. So they don't want to change because of cost, disruption, new training. They just want to stay as they are. For £40 a year, they could stay exactly as they are and be MTD compliant with a minimal fuss. Now, all of the bridging software will do essentially the same thing. They'll all have subtle variations, but they will essentially do the same thing. And you've got to search the bridging software and just see which one you think is the simplest and most stable bridging software. I don't think costs are going to be an issue. Whether it's £1 a return, £2 a return, who cares? It's not much money. It's whatever works for your client, whatever's simple. Now, the client will need to export their Sage Line 50 VAT return and save it on their desktop. All software has a standard export function for their VAT return. You'll then need to access, via the internet, your online account with your chosen bridging supplier. Now, once you're on that bridging supplier's website and logged into your account, you'll then have an upload option. And then you upload your saved desktop VAT 100, the one you exported. Now, the bridging software, the one I've been looking at, it'll upload your exported VAT 100, and as it uploads, it populates an API-enabled VAT 100. So you might be looking at an exported file for your VAT return, and it might make a lot of sense. There might be lots of tabs and all kinds of things on it. But then when you upload it, in the uploading process, it magically becomes this thing that looks like a VAT return. It's a API-enabled VAT 100. And then in your bridging software, you literally, you check it first, obviously the VAT return, but it should be fine. And then you just click submit, and you're done. That bridging software has enabled you to submit your API-enabled VAT return. Now, so you still need to sign up for the MTD pilot and grant the bridging software authority, just like you'd have to do with the likes of Xero, QuickBooks. So you still have to sign. MTD is not automatic, so you have to sign up for it. And then when you sign up for it, as part of the signing up process, it's a separate exercise though, it's after you get the confirmation email from HMRC, you then go to your software provider, in this case the bridging supplier, and then you click their links through to grant authority. The HMRC system has to recognise your chosen supplier as the submitter of your VAT return effectively. Now, most bridging software should accept various import options, such as XLS or XLSX. They're Excel spreadsheets, essentially. You've got CSV, that's a comma-separated file. And then you've got a TXT, a text file. Now, when you export VAT returns, they'll give you options for the exporting medium. Now, any of those will work, it's fine. So the bridging software accepts any of those. So they are standard export functions on Sage, QuickBooks, etc., the older versions. Now, the bridging software has built-in mapping So when you upload your exported VAT return from Sage 50, say, the mapping automatically, you don't see it at all, populates the API VAT 100. It's very clever, and it's just so simple. I'm sure the tech behind it's a bit tricky, but what we see is a very, very simple process. You're uploading, behind the scenes, it's mapping what you've uploaded, and then it appears in this, as if by magic, in this VAT 100. And you can map, or these software providers, the bridging software, they can map anything. So if you have, for example, VT. Now I know VT are developing their own like bridging software, but you don't have to use the VT version of it, because any of the bridging software, they should be able to map a standard exported file from the likes of VT or Cashflow. It doesn't matter which software you've got. The bridging software, if it's a decent one, should be able to map standard export functions from any accounting software. All right, well, let's now look at spreadsheets. So we know desktop versions of software can work, but what about spreadsheets? Now, spreadsheets can work under MTD, but you'll need a digital link to the HMRC system, and that link is provided via bridging software. Now, clients could be keeping their records on the spreadsheet, or they could just be doing their VAT return workings. You could have a client that's got an older version of Sage, for example, but they're partially exempt, or maybe they're a bit tricky. So what they do is they come out of their core accounting system, say Sage, and then they do a partial exemption VAT return in a spreadsheet. And for years, they've just been then manually entering the numbers from their spreadsheet. So there's lots of variations on this, but essentially, your client has a VAT return on a spreadsheet. Currently, they manually upload it. Going forward, they cannot manually upload it. They have to go via bridging software if they are mandated into MTD, so taxable income over 85,000 in the 12 months to 31st of March 19. Now, there are unfound rumours that spreadsheets will only be acceptable for the first year of MTD. That is complete nonsense. Spreadsheets will be around for a long time, as will bridging software. Don't feel pressured into going to a cloud-based software. Now, the only requirement with spreadsheets is that you have to have bridging software, because a normal spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, will not talk to the HMRC system, not via their API platform. So you need that bridging software if you want to carry on with your spreadsheets. Now, clients using spreadsheets for preparation of VAT returns. So whether it's all their records on the spreadsheet and like the last worksheet is a VAT return, or maybe they're just doing the partial exemption calculations and a VAT return on a spreadsheet. So you've got that VAT return on a spreadsheet. Currently, they manually enter that into their HMRC system. Carry on with the spreadsheets, keep those, but do not manually enter once you've signed up for the pilot. And you're going to have to sign up for it very, very soon, because mandation is getting ever so close. Now, most bridging software will provide a template for a VAT 100, and that template will need to be incorporated into the client spreadsheet as a separate worksheet. The mapping in bridging software would expect box 1 output, say, to be in cell N10, for example. So you need a standard template. With Excel spreadsheets, because obviously the client prepares their own, there are just going to be so many different variations. The bridging software is going to have to make sure there's one standard templated worksheet. Now, it's not going to be a tricky thing at all. I'll explain how that works. But it's not like desktops, where desktops export into a common file. Excel spreadsheets are all different. So therefore, the bridging people have to have a standard VAT 100 template. And you download this, and you have that in your worksheet, in your spreadsheet. Now, when you upload that standard template, the mapping in bridging software to their standard template will automatically populate the API-enabled VAT 100, and from there you submit to the HMRC system. Now, using a VAT 100 template does not mean a complete rework of the client's Excel spreadsheets. All you do is you create a new worksheet with a downloaded VAT 100 template. You then replicate the existing cell references on the current VAT 100, your client's VAT 100, into the templated VAT 100. So once you've done that, and you may obviously have to put dollar signs in the old cells to make sure they stay when you copy them. So you're looking to basically ditch your old VAT 100, but before you do that, you copy the cell links. So the same cell links are in your templated VAT 100. Once you're happy that you've done that correctly, you delete your old VAT 100 worksheet. You don't want to get confused. So now I've got a templated VAT 100 that is cell linked into my files as my old one was. Now, you only do that once. So once you've done that, every quarter you then upload your templated VAT 100 into your bridging software. The VAT 100 at the API version is then automatically populated via the upload process. Well, let's look at how that works by an example. So here we have a VAT registered IT contractor, taxable income 100,000, and he keeps his accounting records on Excel. He's got a 30th of April stagger, VAT stagger. Now his spreadsheet has various worksheets, sales invoices, purchase invoices, bank reconciliation even. The bank reconciliation worksheets cell linked to the receipts and payments noted on the sales invoice and purchase invoice worksheets. So some Excel spreadsheets will be very involved, some won't be, but all of them will be linking through to a VAT return worksheet, and that VAT return worksheet has the 9 boxes. Now, because this client has taxable income of 100,000, this client must sign up for MTD. So they've got to do that. So they are mandated into MTD. So they go to the HMRC website and they've got to give their VAT number, their ID, etc. But it's a very, very short process. You sign up for MTD. Now, he can carry on using that Excel spreadsheet, but he must buy bridging software. And he's got to buy bridging software for his first mandated MTD return. That's to 31 July 2019. So that's his first VAT return commencing on or after 1st of April 19. Now, he's also got to grant that bridging software authority, and that will be via the software link. So once you're in your bridging software, there'll be links to the HMRC system to grant authority to this particular piece of bridging software. And that's a very, very straightforward process. You now have the capability to submit API-enabled VAT 100 from your bridging software. You've signed up, the bridging software is authorised, so you're good to go. So how will it actually work for this client? Well, when he does it for the first time, he'll log on to the Bridging Suppliers website. He'll download their Excel VAT 100 template. He'll insert that as the first worksheet in your spreadsheet file. That's how the MTD Express works. It has to be the first worksheet. Others may be different, but it's the first worksheet in your spreadsheet file, so insert that. You then replicate the cell links from your old VAT 100 worksheet into your new template. Delete the old VAT 100 once you're happy you've done it correctly. Now, when you are ready to submit your next VAT quarter, you log on to Bridging Software, your Bridging Software website, and you upload your spreadsheet. Now, the Bridging Software will pick up the VAT 100 worksheet from the spreadsheet you upload, and it automatically populates the API VAT 100 in the bridging software. Now, you don't see any of this. The mapping is behind the scenes. All you've done is simply uploaded, you're online, you upload your spreadsheet, and the mapping in the bridging software picks up your VAT return worksheet and creates this API-enabled VAT 100. And then there's this button which says Submit, and you just press it. And once you put on your credentials, they should be there, and you just submit it. And that's it, you're done. Now, that process will take minutes. It's not a long process at all. Quick look at e-recording. Some of the better bridging software has e-recording functions. The bridging software would then become more than a conduit for submitting VAT 100s. It becomes the accounting records of the business. That's particularly useful for manual record clients who are looking for a simple solution for MTD. I know the MTD Express software is offering e-recording functions for margin scheme and retail schemes such as pubs, cafes, sandwich shops, etc. So trying to offer a simple solution for those clients. A little look at manual record clients. For those manual record clients who have particular IT issues, i.e. they don't do IT, it's worth submitting a request to HMRC for 1995-2518 Reg 32B, Para 1C exemption. It is not reasonably practical by reason of age, location, disability, etc. To do this MTD thing. So you can only ask, so you might as well. I suspect they may be a little bit more lenient in the early days of MTD, so really emphasise the problems your client has. If I had a long-established farmer on monthly returns, then I would at least try to get exemption. Fingers crossed I might get lucky. But I think for those manual record clients that you know you're going to struggle with, do try and claim exemption first. So HMRC are supposed to be issuing guidance on this, but that's not to stop me trying to get exemption now. I'm going to have to wait for clearance on it, but I'm going to ask for sure. Now, if they refuse, then we have to do something. We could design a spreadsheet to look like their cash book. Maybe they can treat that as their cash book, and then we would just bridge it into the HMRC system. Alternatively, we could see if they're able to raise sales invoices in our chosen software provider, let's say Xero. And then you sign them up for bank feeds. We might spend a little more time through the quarters, checking the VAT return, but if you're using Xero, QuickBooks, Sage, etc., then you are quite likely to spend less time at the year end. We could see if e-recording via bridging software is an option. Some of the bridging software is offering to enter data into their e-recording software from scanned cash books, and that is for under £10 an hour. So there's lots of options for manual record clients. The first thing, though, is try and get exemption. If that doesn't work, we've got to do something MTD. So to conclude, cloud-based software is great for MTD, but some clients may not feel inclined to go down this route. They might prefer to stay as they are. They don't want the extra cost. They don't want the training. They don't want the disruption. They don't like the idea the records are in the cloud. So they might fear security, internet being down. They might have poor internet. So they might feel more comfortable with a non-cloud-based piece of software. So many are going to prefer to stay as they are, be it an older version of Sage, QuickBooks, VT, Cashflow, whatever they've got, they may prefer to stick with it. Now, bridging software allows clients to stick with their current accounting system, and it's a very inexpensive option. You could get individual licenses for around £40 per annum. Agent licenses for accountants, you can get those for about £1 or £2 per VAT return. So bridging software is not an expensive piece of kit. It's very, very simple, very straightforward, and it is inexpensive. Now, bridging software will be around for a long time. It's not gone in a year or gone in 2 years. It's around for a long time. The bridging software suppliers, yes, they are getting MTD VAT sorted, but I think the biggie for them is probably income tax. They want to get market share, so when MTD for income tax comes in, and I cannot see that coming in with an £85,000 threshold. I think it's going to be much lower. So we're going to have more clients coming in for income tax, then eventually corporation tax. Bridging software will still be around. And obviously cloud-based is the easiest, but other options with bridging are certainly viable under MTD. The only clients who have to change the way they do things are manual record clients. They have to change unless they get an HMRC Reg 32B Para 1C exemption. If they get exemption, they do not have to do MTD. Well, that concludes the lecture on bridging software. My name is Dean Wootten.